My name is Claire Willow. I'm 28 years old. I work at an interior design firm in Chicago, but this story isn't about my career or success. This story is about two people who drove a knife straight through the center of my life. One of them. The man I shared everything with for 4 years, Jason. The other, the woman I considered my sister since high school, Emily. When I met Jason, I was 24. I had just moved to Chicago from Seattle, alone, a little nervous. But full of hope, I first noticed his interest while waiting at a bus stop with a broken bag in my hand. Months passed, then years. We looked for apartments together. We dreamed together. Started from scratch. We grew together. Jason was the love of my life, and Emily. She was everything. Emily and I grew up together. Same school, same library, like two girls who shared a street and a childhood. When I had my first heartbreak, she held me. When I went to my first job interview, she fixed my hair, and on my wedding day. She was going to be my maid of honor, but sometimes the deepest wounds come from the ones who hold you closest, and sometimes the two people you love most hold hands to dig your grave. That morning, there were 4 days left until my wedding, but I wasn't awake yet, because the real wake-up would hit me that night when I saw them together. 4 days until the wedding, I was home alone. Jason was at work. Emily had texted earlier saying she'd come early to help with dress rehearsal, but she never showed then, out of nowhere. I got a screenshot from Tucha, a friend from college. Her message said, "Is this yours?" I opened it. Jason's profile photo, a chat thread with Emily. Jason had written, "I want to spend the entire night with you." Emily had replied, "Just this once, then we'll forget." My eyes froze. My heart slammed into my throat. This had to be a mistake, a prank, a lie. Someone was messing with me. I texted back. When was this taken? While I waited for her reply, my hands trembled. Then Jason texted, "Meeting ran late. How about we eat out tonight?" I read his message, and my stomach turned. Tusi replied, "Last night, Emily sent it to me by mistake, then deleted it, but I saved it." My house was silent, but inside me, there was a storm. I didn't say a word that night. Jason came home, kissed me, said nothing. Emily called. I ignored it, but at 2:17 a.m., I stared at that screen, those 2 sentences, and I cried silently. My tears didn't soak my pillow. They drowned the life I'd been building for 4 years, and for the first time I thought, if I catch them together. That wedding day won't just be mine. It'll be a day they'll never forget, because this wasn't a wedding story anymore. This was an unwritten revenge script in the middle of fake vows. The next morning, I made myself one promise. You won't cry, you won't forget, but most importantly, you will never forgive. I put my phone on silent. Jason was still texting. Emily was still calling, asking, "When are we starting the rehearsals?" But I wasn't preparing for a rehearsal anymore. I was getting ready for a new scene entirely. Step 1. Back up the screenshots. I thanked Tootsie and asked her one thing. I want to show this to everyone on the wedding day. Will you help me? She didn't hesitate for a second. All the way, she said. The plan was simple, but devastating. I had a friend in the team that was preparing our wedding video. His name was Liam. I gave him a private file, a PowerPoint, slide 1, our couple. Photos, slide 2, the messages between Jason and Emily, slide 3. True love doesn't carry fake vows. All I told Liam was, play this right before we walk to the altar. I hid my phone under my wedding dress. I would record everything that was said that day, because this wasn't just my fight anymore. This was a stand for every woman who'd ever had to protect her dignity alone, finally. I opened the little white box in my mother's hope chest. Inside was a letter she wrote on her wedding day 35 years ago. I wrote my own letter to put beside it. Today, I'm not getting married in front of fake smiles. I'm walking into a reckoning, but the groom will change because this time I'm saying yes to myself. The wedding day was approaching, but this bride wasn't just putting on a veil anymore. She was putting on armor, and the guests wouldn't just be witnesses, they'd be spectators to the truth. The end of the lithe morning of the wedding was strange. No sunshine, no rain, but the storm inside me was drowning everything else. The hairstylist came to my house. Did my hair my makeup? Flawless, but the look in my eyes. No one dared to meet it. Emily arrived dressed in pure white with a smile like nothing had ever happened. She brought me coffee, made it with milk, like you like, she said. I just nodded. But in my head, one thought raged. After today, nothing in your life will ever be sweet again. Jason showed up, navy blue suit, the one I picked out for him. I even thought he still kept that little note I had once hidden in his inner pocket. I'm so glad you're my man. But that man was just a mask now. We arrived at the wedding hall. The guests took their seats. My mother was wiping her tears. My father took my arm. Are you ready, sweetheart? He asked. I looked into his eyes for the first time that day. Today, everything will go exactly as it should, Dad. The pianist started to play. I walked forward, slowly, deliberately. But this walk wasn't toward a happy ending. It was headed straight into an exposure. Jason looked at me, smiled. Emily stood to my right, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't. Shattered years of friendship. The officiant began to speak, and then the slides started. Slide 1, me and Jason, our engagement photo. Slide 2, me and Emily, laughing at my birthday. Slide 3, a text from Emily to Jason, 2:14 a.m. You're coming to me again tonight, aren't you? The room fell silent. Heard a woman gasp. Oh my God! A child whispered, Mom, what does that say? And then I spoke. Today, you won't just hear a vow. You'll witness the fall of a mask, the betrayal of a friendship, and the consequences of a broken love. Jason started shifting in place. Emily went pale. The officiant hesitated. Let's just continue, Jason said, his voice shaking. I shook my head. No, Jason, this vow ends here, but the real show is just beginning. I pulled out my phone, played. The recordings of the past 4 days. Every word Jason and Emily had exchanged echoed through the speakers. They couldn't run, they couldn't hide, and most importantly, they couldn't act anymore. Some guests walked out. Emily left the stage in tears. Jason had no words, but me, I stood tall, because this was no longer a wedding. This was the beginning of the truth. When I left that hall, the whispers behind me spoke louder than any applause. Some called me brave. Others said, what a disgrace. But I didn't listen to any of them, because that day I wasn't on stage to be a hero in anyone else's story. I was there to end the silence inside myself. When I got home, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram. My aunt texted, what did you just do? My cousin said, should have recorded a bit more. That was epic. But the real message came in at 11:07 p.m. Sender. Emily, how dare you humiliate me like that? I replied with one line. I only showed what you were hiding. Don't twist the narrative. The next morning, the video had gone viral. Revenge in a wedding dress, betrayal exposed at the altar was trending. Security footage from the wedding hall, guests' phone videos from multiple angles. All of them immortalized that moment. Jason's family called. His father apologized. His mother said, my son made a mistake, but did you really have to go that far? I stayed quiet, because that exposure, it wasn't too much. It was years of silence spit out in a single day. Jason called 8 times. I didn't answer. But in his 8th text, he wrote, I messed up, but I really did love you. I smiled and sent him one voice message. Mistakes are made by accident. You planned this. You destroyed me and our future, but I'm not saying goodbye to you. I'm saying goodbye to this story. Goodbye. That night, I bought myself flowers. For me. for my silence, for my goodbye, because maybe there wasn't a wedding. That day, but I made a vow to myself, I will never again be a side character in someone else's story. After the storm that struck on my wedding day. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone, but that loneliness wasn't a punishment. It was the silence of a rebirth. For the first week, I didn't leave the house. I turned off all notifications. On my phone, but the internet didn't stop. The video had gone viral, spreading to millions across different platforms. Someone called me TikTok's bride queen. Another wrote, "She did it like a real queen, but I was just a woman, betrayed, humiliated, but in the end, unbroken." People from Jason and Emily's circle started defending them. "They're both sorry," they said. "They couldn't be as strong as you," they said. But I didn't care anymore. I was chasing something else, rebuilding myself. I took the first step. I went on a trip, alone, grabbed my passport, and flew to Rome. Visited the Trevi Fountain. I didn't make a wish, just tossed in a coin and whispered to myself, I am my own wish now. When I got back, I focused on my career. Built a new team. Started a social media project. The Power of Their Bride. Every week, I shared a woman's story, betrayal, abandonment, heartbreak. But in the end, they all shared one thing in common, rising from the ashes. As months passed, women started messaging me strangers. Your video kept me from being silenced. One wrote, "You were my courage." Another said, "That's when I realized I didn't just get revenge, I sparked something." And one morning, my phone rang again. "Jason, this time," I answered, and I said just one line. "I forgive you, but there's no room for you anywhere in who I am now." And I hung up, because some endings are done in silence, some deaths don't need graves, and some goodbyes. Even when they burn, they set us free. This was my story, a story that started with me opening my eyes to him on my wedding day, and ended with me crying alone that night. A story of betrayal by the two people I trusted most, my best friend and the man I was about to marry. But in the end, I wrote the final chapter myself. Simay and Baron are no longer part of my life. But the pain they caused, that became my power. To this day, some people tell me, what you did was too harsh. I just smile, because those who stay silent stay broken, but those who speak up make history. Now it's your turn. Have you ever been betrayed by the two people you trusted most? At the same time? Have you had to end your own wedding story in tears? And most importantly, have you ever found the courage to rise up and make your voice heard, even when everyone else stood against you? Share your story in the comments, because your truth might be the reason someone else finally speaks out. And never forget, real revenge begins the moment you stand up for yourself.